A major healthcare fraud investigation here in Southern California. Defendants built the U.S. out of more than $50 million. That's according to the U.S. Department of Justice, saying doctors and nurses were arrested today.
The FBI provided this video, part of a series of search and arrest warrants conducted across Southern California this morning over suspected health fraud, including in hospice care.
In the dead of night, FBI tactical teams descended on a quiet medical complex in Southern California. What appeared to be a legitimate healthcare organization was about to be exposed as one of the most horrifying criminal enterprises in recent history. At 4 a.m., heavily armed SWAT teams stormed the gleaming corridors of Pacific Elite Medical Center, a prestigious hospital trusted by thousands of families. Doors were kicked in. Doctors in white coats were thrown to the ground. Nurses screamed as federal agents ripped open locked laboratories. What they found inside was pure nightmare fuel. Hundreds of kilograms of fentanyl, not stored as medicine, but actively being mixed into prescription drugs. Hidden cold storage rooms containing harvested organs from children. Encrypted files detailing millions in bribes paid to local officials. And evidence of patients who were silenced forever after discovering the truth. In total, 35 doctors and nurses have been indicted in a monstrous $3.5 billion fraud scheme. But the most explosive detail? The man at the very center of this empire of death is Dr. Victor Langford, the hospital's powerful CEO, and the son of the city's mayor. This wasn't just healthcare fraud. This was a secret medical organization running a sophisticated network of child organ trafficking, fentanyl poisoning, contract killings, and high-level political corruption, all hidden behind the trusted walls of modern medicine. How did a respected medical organization operate this monstrous operation right under everyone's noses for years? Tonight, we expose the shocking truth behind the FBI's raid on California's secret medical empire. For 12 years, Pacific Elite Medical Center was known as one of the most luxurious and trusted hospitals in California. Its modern buildings, advanced equipment, and five-star reputation attracted wealthy patients and families from across the state. The head of the hospital is Dr. Victor Langford, the 42-year-old CEO. With his charismatic appearance, Harvard graduate status, and media acumen, Dr. Langford is a rising star in Westfield's healthcare industry. He is also the only son of Mayor Victor Reynolds, Westfield's long-serving and powerful mayor. This father-son relationship is incredibly valuable. Thanks to his father's powerful political connections, Victor quickly rose to the top and turned the hospital into a highly successful business. On the outside, everything looked perfect. Doctors performed surgeries, treated patients, and billed insurance companies normally. The hospital received excellent reviews and big contracts with major insurance providers. But behind this clean image hid a completely different reality. A small group of 15 doctors and nurses worked in secret under Victor's direct control. While the hospital appeared legitimate during the day, at night, and behind closed doors, they operated a dark criminal network. Dr. Victor Langford didn't just run the hospital. He personally designed and controlled this hidden empire of crime. Hard to believe a respected hospital could hide something this dark, right? Have you ever doubted a big hospital's reputation? Drop a comment, yes or no. Here's exactly how Dr. Victor Langford and his inner circle turned a respected hospital into a multi-billion-dollar machine of death and deception. The operation ran on a simple but deadly two-tier system. The majority of the staff, around 20 doctors and nurses, believed they were working at a normal hospital. They performed legitimate surgeries, wrote standard prescriptions, and treated real patients every day. This clean surface created the perfect cover and generated steady legal revenue. But a carefully selected group of 15 insiders knew the truth. These priority team members answered directly to Dr. Victor Langford and operated the hospital's secret criminal engine after hours and in restricted areas. The fraud alone was staggering. They submitted over $3.5 billion in fake Medicare and Medicaid claims by billing for expensive procedures that were never performed, ordering unnecessary high-cost tests, and inventing ghost patients. Every fake claim was carefully documented with forged medical records to survive audits. At the same time, they ran a ruthless fentanyl operation. In a hidden laboratory inside the hospital, insiders mixed massive quantities of fentanyl into common pain medications and intravenous drugs. These tainted prescriptions were then handed out to unsuspecting patients, creating addiction, overdoses, and steady demand for more treatment. The profits from selling diverted and laced drugs flowed straight into offshore accounts. Even darker was the child organ trafficking ring. The network targeted vulnerable children, runaways, undocumented migrant minors, and kids from struggling families by offering fake medical checkups or emergency care. Once inside the facility, these children became victims of illegal organ harvesting. The harvested organs were quickly packaged in the hospital's own cold storage rooms and sold on the international black market for enormous sums. To protect the operation, the group used murder as a tool of silence. Patients or whistleblowers who discovered the truth suddenly suffered unexpected complications or fatal accidents. Witnesses were eliminated with carefully staged overdoses using the same fentanyl they produced. Finally, the entire scheme was shielded by corruption. Millions in bribe money, generated from the fraud and black market sales, were funneled to local officials, health inspectors, and even high-ranking politicians to ensure the hospital faced no serious oversight. Dr. Victor Langford sat at the center of this web like a spider, personally approving every major move, routing the money, and using his father's political power as the ultimate insurance policy. What looked like advanced healthcare was, in reality, one of the most sophisticated and horrifying criminal enterprises ever built inside America's medical system. Absolutely horrifying. If you're angry watching this, smash that like button and share this video. Unraveling this nightmare took nearly 2 years of silent, painstaking work by the FBI. The investigation began when a brave nurse inside Pacific Elite Medical Center became a whistleblower. She secretly recorded conversations, copied hidden patient files, and smuggled out evidence of falsified records and suspicious organ shipments. Her information landed on the desk of Special Agent Elena Ramirez, a veteran FBI investigator specializing in healthcare fraud and organized crime. Agent Ramirez and her team quickly realized they were dealing with something far bigger than simple billing fraud. As they followed the money trail through shell companies and offshore banks, they discovered links to missing children, fentanyl-laced medications, and unexplained patient deaths. Every lead pointed directly back to Dr. Victor Langford. The biggest challenge was the hospital's powerful protection. Because Victor was the son of the city's mayor, the team knew any leak could destroy the entire case. They operated in total secrecy, using encrypted communications and avoiding local police who might have been compromised. After 22 months of surveillance, financial analysis, and undercover operations, Agent Ramirez finally had enough evidence for federal indictments. The plan was set: a massive, synchronized raid at dawn to catch every suspect before they could destroy evidence or flee. The target list included Dr. Victor Langford, his 15 Inner Circle members, and dozens of others deeply involved in the criminal network. The stage was now set for one of the most dramatic medical takedowns in California history. On October 15th at exactly 6 a.m., over 200 heavily armed agents, supported by SWAT teams and federal marshals, moved silently into position across multiple locations. Their targets: the main Pacific Elite Medical Center campus, 3 satellite clinics, Dr. Victor Langford's luxury waterfront mansion, and even the mayor's private residence for search warrants. The command came through encrypted radios. All units, green light, execute. At the hospital, chaos erupted in seconds. SWAT teams in tactical gear smashed through the glass entrance doors while other units stormed the rear loading docks. Agents burst into operating rooms mid-procedure, forcing surgeons to step away from the table with their hands raised. Shocked nurses dropped trays as federal agents shouted, "FBI, hands up, don't move!" In the hidden laboratory on the basement level, agents caught 3 doctors and 2 technicians red-handed. They were actively mixing fentanyl into intravenous bags under bright surgical lights. Packages of freshly harvested organs, still sealed in medical coolers, sat ready for shipment. Agents seized servers, hard drives, and stacks of encrypted ledgers that documented years of illegal activity. Simultaneously, another team stormed Dr. Victor Langford's executive suite on the top floor. Victor was caught frantically trying to delete files from his computer as agents kicked in the door. Dressed in an expensive silk robe, the once powerful CEO was slammed against the wall, handcuffed, and read his rights while cameras captured every moment. At the same time, agents executed search warrants at the homes of the 15 Inner Circle members. Several were arrested while still asleep. Others attempted to flush documents or destroy evidence, but the coordinated timing left them no chance to react. The raid was executed with military precision. Within the first hour, all 35 indicted doctors and nurses were in custody. No one escaped. Federal agents also seized over 400 kilograms of fentanyl, dozens of containers holding human organs, millions in cash, and luxury vehicles registered to the hospital's shell companies. As the sun rose over California, the once impenetrable Pacific Elite Medical Center stood surrounded by flashing lights and crime scene tape. What had been a symbol of medical excellence was now exposed as the headquarters of a vast criminal empire. Dr. Victor Langford, the mayor's son who thought his family name made him untouchable, was led out in handcuffs, his empire collapsing in real time. The raid was over, but the full scale of the horror was only beginning to surface. In the days following the dramatic Dawn raid, the full weight of federal justice descended on Pacific Elite Medical Center and its leaders. Federal prosecutors in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California filed sweeping indictments against all 35 doctors and nurses. The charges were devastating: racketeering under the RICO Act, conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud totaling $3.5 billion, distribution of fentanyl resulting in death, child organ trafficking across state and international lines, conspiracy to commit murder, and multiple counts of public corruption through bribery of government officials. Dr. Victor Langford faced the harshest accusations. As the mastermind and CEO, he was charged with directing the entire criminal enterprise. Prosecutors described him as the central figure who approved every fraudulent claim, ordered the organ harvesting operations, and personally authorized the silencing of witnesses. Because of his leadership role and the use of his political family connections, prosecutors announced they would seek life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The 15 members of the inner circle were charged as knowing participants in the conspiracy. Several faced additional murder charges for their direct involvement in staging fatal overdoses. The remaining staff members were charged with lesser but still serious counts of healthcare fraud and aiding in the distribution of controlled substances. Adding to the scandal, federal authorities revealed they had opened a separate investigation into Mayor Richard Langford, Dr. Victor Langford's father. Evidence seized during the raid showed millions of dollars in bribes and campaign contributions funneled through hospital accounts that appeared linked to the mayor's office. While the mayor has not yet been charged, sources say he is now under active scrutiny for public corruption. In the immediate aftermath, Pacific Elite Medical Center was shut down indefinitely. State health officials revoked its operating license, and all patients were transferred to other facilities. Federal agents seized the hospital buildings, medical equipment, bank accounts containing over $100 million, luxury vehicles, and multiple properties owned by Dr. Victor Langford and his associates. The once respected institution now stood empty, its reputation destroyed, and its doors chained shut. What had taken 12 years to build as a symbol of medical excellence was dismantled in a matter of days. As the defendants appeared in court for their initial hearings, the public finally began to grasp the horrifying scope of the betrayal. Doctors and nurses who had sworn to save lives were now accused of using their medical expertise to traffic children's organs, poison patients with fentanyl, and enrich themselves through one of the largest healthcare fraud schemes in American history. The legal battle had only just begun, but one thing was already clear: the federal government was determined to completely dismantle every piece of Dr. Victor Langford's criminal empire. The raid on Pacific Elite Medical Center was not the end of the operation. It was only the beginning of a much wider takedown. In the weeks that followed, FBI agents expanded their investigation far beyond the hospital walls. Using the encrypted ledgers and financial records seized during the raid, they uncovered a nationwide and international network that had been feeding Dr. Victor Langford's criminal empire for years. Investigators discovered that several private adoption agencies and youth shelters in California, Nevada, and Arizona had been secretly funneling vulnerable children into the hospital's organ pipeline. At least 4 shelter directors and 2 adoption coordinators were arrested and charged with child trafficking and conspiracy. Even more shocking, the money trail led to 3 major pharmaceutical distributors and 2 overseas organ brokers operating in Mexico and Eastern Europe. These entities had been purchasing the harvested organs and supplying bulk fentanyl precursors directly to the hospital's hidden laboratory. Federal agents, working with Interpol, conducted simultaneous raids in 3 countries, resulting in 12 additional arrests and the shutdown of 2 underground organ trafficking rings. Closer to home, the investigation exposed corruption inside California's State Health Department. 3 senior inspectors who had repeatedly cleared the hospital during audits were taken into custody for accepting bribes in the form of cash, luxury vacations, and even shares in shell companies controlled by Dr. Victor Langford. The ripple effects reached the highest levels of local government. As evidence mounted against Mayor Richard Langford, federal prosecutors filed charges against him for public corruption, money laundering, and aiding a criminal enterprise. The mayor's office, once considered untouchable, was raided just 10 days after his son's arrest. Documents proved he had used his influence to block previous complaints against the hospital and had personally benefited from millions in diverted funds. By the end of the first month, the total number of people charged had climbed from 35 to 68. The financial impact exceeded $3.5 billion in fraudulent claims, with additional hundreds of millions traced to black market organ sales and fentanyl distribution. Federal authorities seized over $250 million in assets, including private jets, waterfront properties, and secret bank accounts in Switzerland and the Cayman Islands. This case has forced a complete reckoning in America's healthcare system. Hospitals across California are now facing emergency audits. New federal guidelines require stricter oversight of organ procurement networks and real-time monitoring of high-volume prescription drugs. Lawmakers have already begun drafting legislation nicknamed the Langford Act, aimed at preventing children from falling through the cracks in adoption and shelter systems. What started as a single dawn raid on one hospital has evolved into the largest exposure of medical corruption in recent U.S. history. It proved that even the most respected institutions protected by political power and hidden behind white coats can no longer hide from justice. The message is now crystal clear. No title, no family name, and no amount of money can shield those who betray the public trust and prey on the most vulnerable. This shocking case exposes a terrifying truth. Even the most trusted medical institutions can become factories of death when greed and corruption take control. It reminds us that political connections and white coats offer no protection against justice when innocent lives, especially children, are being destroyed for profit. The fall of Dr. Victor Langford and his empire proves that no one is above the law. If you believe organizations that betray public trust and prey on the vulnerable must be completely dismantled, hit the like button right now. Subscribe for more hidden investigations into corruption and crime. Drop a comment below. Who do you think bears the greatest responsibility? The doctors, the politicians, or the system itself? The hunt for justice never ends.